always takes forever. It's uploading to YouTube. I think we're live on YouTube, but give it a second, and then I'm going to play the music for everybody. It's always a pain in the ass. Yes, we got it live. Welcome to Nightmare 365.
This is the center of weirdness for the entire planet.
There's tons of unsolved mysteries out there. Witches still exist.
What about monsters?
Do you believe in ghosts?
Bigfoot is not out there.
Bigfoot is definitely out there. UFOs are real.
UFOs might be real.
Do you believe in conspiracies?
I consider myself a conspiracy theorist.
I want to believe in all these case files.
Trust no one. The government lies to you.
We're just two brothers exploring the unexplained, mysterious, and spookiness that lives among us. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Center of Weirdness, known as Nightmare 365 Radio. I'm Matt. Greg is not in studio with us today. He's off on a business trip. That's all I'll say on that. Anyway, follow along to all of our weirdness by visiting our website, nightmare365.com, and also subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Hit the bell for notifications where you could watch us live on YouTube when we do our podcast. And every Wednesday, we have another weekday weird for you, diving into the weirdness. Today, we are opening up the Eerie Vault for Case File 51. This one's a good one. We have a special guest online with us, so stay tuned for that. First thing I want to do is just give a couple shout outs to some people that gave us a review on our iTunes page. And if you leave a review going forward, we're definitely going to give you a shout out for that. So thank you, PopRock79, for that amazing comment, and EP Nova also for a great comment too. And if you have any stories for us, you'd like to share some of your own stories with us, or any kind of weirdness, we're always open for some suggestions. And you could find us at nightmare365.com. All of our contact information. We have our phone number, email, P.O. Box. Anything you want to hit us up with, please do. And let's just jump right into this. Today I have on the line with me Jay Bachochin. I hope I said your name right. I know I practiced it. We talked about it. You're a Fringe investigator. You investigate everything from Bigfoot, Dogman, UFOs, aliens, unsolved mysteries, and a whole lot more. I'm sure you could really talk about yourself a lot better than I can and tell the audience a little bit about your search. And you have I guess, Finding Jay, a documentary. I would say it's more of a film, since we didn't get a chance to view it because it's not out yet. It comes out June 1st. But you're the guy behind the film, Finding Jay. What's up, Jay? Can you hear us? How you doing today, buddy?
I am doing great. Thank you.
I thought we lost you there for a second.
No, I was on hold.
On hold and ready to go for the Nightmare 365 Radio. So we talked a little bit before. You are a Fringe investigator. I know we said it's more of a thing where you kind of cover everything, just like us here. You know, when me and Greg talk about all these, unsolved mysteries, aliens, UFOs, Bigfoot. We're into horror movies. I'm a huge fan of Halloween. If anybody's ever met me and seen the studio, all that kind of craziness that comes along with me. And you don't like the term, I guess I never heard of the term Bigfooter, but you don't like that term, or Bigfoot researcher. You're more of the guy that covers everything.
Well, yeah, definitely. Because when I when I did first, begin my journey, and I'm going to say way back in the day, I was always interested in the UFOs. I've seen a lot of them. Just anything that was supernatural and crazy. I always say I grew up with creature features, and I'm kind of dating myself, but that's what I was always into. But it wasn't until 2007 where me and my wife formed our own group where we're investigating ghosts, and and I've always heard of Bigfoot, but I really never believed. I always thought the same thing, to where there's enough people out there looking. Where's the body? Where's the proof? Proof's in the pudding. So it wasn't until 2013, being out in the Kettle Moraine here in southeast Wisconsin, that we heard something that almost sounded, I want to say, almost simian, almost like a primate. And then I thought maybe there was something to it, but I still hunt the truth. I wanted to find out answers to see if, it could be natural or whatnot. And so really 2013 is where I began my voyage into the Bigfoot world. And I mean, you're 100% right. A lot of people out there deem themselves Bigfoot researchers, or Bigfooters, or whatnot. And I still like, the term that I go out and hike and I hunt the truth. And pretty much that's how I approach it. Um, so yeah, I've always said there was no such title as a truthologist. So I kind of throw that under it, because it kind of covers the whole gamut of the paranormal.
Yeah, and that's the thing with me. I'm more of a guy who loves stories, and my brother and I, we've been on investigations. I would say more to the ghost. I mean, I never been out, hunting Bigfoot or hunting some of these things, these cryptids, but more or less, I'm fascinated. And just like you, I mean, some of the stuff that I read about you, you've been into this ever since you could remember. Like you date, Creature Feature. That was a little, a decade before my time, but I do remember that because
Yeah.
I'm into all this stuff, and I really want to believe, but there's always questions, and I like your thing where you talk about you're always looking for the truth, and you're going out for a hike, but you're looking for the truth, and I think I could respect that more so than, I don't know, I'm sure you're familiar, but like Finding Bigfoot,
Oh
that
yeah.
was on the Animal Planet. I was actually watching a couple episodes the last couple nights, and the sometimes watching those shows, I feel like a lot of people get turned off, or they have a different interpretation of what kind of the people that are really serious about doing this kind of thing. And they look at something like that. And I feel like sometimes it's pushed upon us. And, we have a one interpretation or view of it. And sometimes it's not like that at all if you're out there and really doing the research yourself. I don't know if you,
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you know what? And I don't knock. See, the thing is, everything on TV, is, you got to remember, is always for entertainment.
of
It's always
course.
for ratings, and it's the way the world works. But at the same time, it does give people that, maybe that incentive to go out and look for themselves, because that's generally where I'm at right now, to where I could explain it to you, to your listeners, or to anybody I come in contact with, and I'll still get the eye roll, because Bigfoot might as well be a unicorn or a troll or a fairy. um, you know just being, you're just out there hunting nothing, or
Yeah.
you're looking for nothing. But with that, I always say, look, the only way to ever prove it to anybody is go out and discover it for yourself. Don't take my word on it. Don't take, Finding Bigfoot. Don't take anything that you see, even though it could be 100% true, could be 100% false at the same time. The only way to do that is to go out and discover for yourself. So get out in nature, go for that walk,
Well, I think a lot of
keep
people
your eyes
do.
open.
I think a lot of people have that way of thinking. Seeing is believing. And I
Yes.
remember always hearing that ever since like a little kid. No matter how many stories I could tell somebody that I've experienced, I don't think they'll have a good appreciation or a really understanding of something that may have happened. Like there's a lot of people that believe in ghosts, and there's a lot of people that don't. There's people out there that believe in Bigfoot, people that don't. So and it's always, I'm not trying out to convince anybody that, one way is right or wrong or real or not. I'm really just fascinated with the stories that people present them to me, or, to the world to see whether it's on TV or not. And
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes, I don't want to say it. Sometimes being on TV, you can lose some credibility, because it's for that. I mean, with that said, I'll actually be featured on the Travel Channel this Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central. for the Beast of Bray Road. Um, However, that program itself, they working with those producers, they are looking for the truth and some answers too. So I can actually help validate that this Travel Channel episode, In Search of Monsters, coming up is pretty much 100% spot on. I wasn't around the Finding Bigfoot sets, but I couldn't imagine doing what I do, walking around with, four people and a crap load of producers around you. I think nothing would approach you at that point.
Yeah, that's the thing. As much as I was always a big believer, and I mean, me and Greg talk about it a lot, where we watched the Ghost Hunters when it first came out. We met them, we talked to them, we became really friendly with them, and then eventually we lost interest due to a number of different reasons. But and that's the thing, like you said, where you lose credibility when you're sometimes on a TV show,
Right,
and I think people understand and realize like reality TV isn't reality. It's very
right.
scripted. I remember when the Osbournes were on TV, and I remember watching that
Mm.
and be like, oh man, this is how they really like live and do stuff. And then at the end, you see like the outtakes, like the last final episode of the season, and you see all these outtakes, and I'm like, wait, what? And then like you as a kid you start to realize like, oh, this shit is just fake, and then you realize like what else is fake. And then
Exactly. Yep.
yeah, and I think that's like what's tough. And I've always have discussions with my friends, other people that when they find out what it's interesting, which I don't know if you get this, but when people find out like what I'm into, like I do a show and talk to people about this, they kind of open up a little bit more and they say like, oh, I never told anybody about this story, but I have this story, and they kind of go on, and it's
That's that.
weird.
Yeah, you're talking about my life right now
Yeah, it
because there's a lot of people that are doing exactly what you said. All of a sudden they're like, "Yeah, this is Jay. He looks for Bigfoot." All of a sudden you hear the needle scratch. The crickets chirping. Like, okay, this guy's crazy. But then you're right. They do come out of the woodwork later, just like you were saying, and they start confiding in you.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know with the amount of shows, whether it's a podcast, YouTube channel, things on TV, the Travel Channel does all these different things, Destination America, the list goes on and on. I don't know why, since it's so mainstream, it feels like that to me. I don't know because maybe I just watch all this kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
why people haven't accepted certain things or certain beliefs,
Oh yeah, yeah,
you
and
know,
again, yeah, the ghosts definitely have been, since what, the early 2000s when Ghost Hunters first came out with Taps,
right?
and then the whole slew of Ghost Adventures from Haunted Collection, you name it. Now that I think there's something called Ghost Bait. I don't know what that is, but I'm just saying it just saturates
Dude, I
the
mean, I've
thing.
I've watched these TV shows forever. I mean, I'm always like I said, I'm interested in the stories. I'm interested in like locations where they're at because then it gives me, a better understanding or not understanding, but like a different view. And I say like, oh, I've never heard of this place. I want to go check it out. I want to do something like this, and just see for myself whether it's just for the history, the experience, or
Oh
and
sure,
and maybe I do see something because I've never told you this. I'm sure people have heard it on the show, but I've never really experienced anything. Whether it's I've had some weird, occurrences, but nothing that like I've never seen Bigfoot. I've never seen a ghost, and a lot of people make fun of me too because they're like, "You're one of the biggest skeptics," even though I'm a very proponent of saying things like I believe in this stuff and I kind of defend some of the, stuff that's out there, but I will rip like, Ghost Hunters and shows like that, that when, I find out certain things or they lie.
sure, yeah,
And
or
I have
yeah,
no
yeah,
problem with that. Like Ghost Hunters, we were a big fan, like right on our desk, in our studio, we have a picture of us with the Ghost Hunters. But like some of the stuff that they, like Jay, love the guy. He's really awesome, friendly guy. But like some of the other team members, eh,
yeah,
so like
right.
and that's just my experience. I don't know, maybe people have better experiences than I had, but things like that kind of turn me off. And I really, as much as I defend the cryptids, Bigfoot, Loch Ness, all this stuff, there is some times where I'm just like, enough of the bullshit, and just lay it out there. Like even TV shows, like I think people aren't fooled anymore by some of the TV shows that are out there. I just want real stuff. I rather not watch something on TV, but like go to your YouTube channel and
Right.
see stuff firsthand where it's like your stuff. Yeah, it may be produced and it may be, fake in terms of like some of the YouTube channels, but at least I know I'm getting certain things. Like when I go to your channel, I'm getting you. I'm not
Right.
getting like 50 million people into one show. And
Exactly. And that's pretty much why, I mean, I don't want to say it's a perfect segue for what's coming out right now, but, I did develop up a documentary of my 5 year research. And one of the main reasons why I did it was nowhere for the fame and fortune, because you can't get rich, nor do I, look to be you know, put on the radar as somebody who's, famous or anything like that. I did this to put my story out of saying this is what's real out there. And, for the documentary, you're gonna see, you're gonna hear, and different pieces of evidence of the strange things that I've come across. Did I actually see if it was Bigfoot behind these things? No, but then again, I do a lot of hard research with Bigfoot and their encounters, and there are a lot of them, and you can always say that not everybody could be crazy, and it can't be all misidentification.
right.
There's got to be something to this. So this is what I put in my documentary. Just not just me, but you know, 20 other people that have come out with me on these, investigations or hiking or whatnot, and come across same things. So it's not just all me saying this. This is just a bunch of people saying it.
Yeah, and this documentary that you're talking about is Finding Jay, and it's going to be released June 1st. And where can people get this? Like if they want to, check it out. I know you have a
Well, right
website.
now, yeah, right now, if they wanted to go to my website, which is WPIHuntsTheTruth.com, in the upper right hand corner right now, there's pre-orders. Actually, all the DVDs are complete, ready to ship now on June 1st. And it is in Blu-ray because it's all high definition. There was no way I could put this on a regular DVD. A lot of people ask if a 4K DVD player can play Blu-ray. Yes, it can, as well as regular. Um, you know, it's done professionally. I take pride. I'm also a graphic designer, so I designed the cover, I designed the insert that goes in. It's a great collector's item to actually hold, and it's tangible. However, July 1st, it will be streaming HD on Video Prime as of July 1st, whether you can rent or buy it.
And
So
that's
there's many,
Amazon.
yeah, there's on Amazon, yeah. So there's many different ways you can see it, because people ask me, and especially the younger generation, it's all about streaming. It's all about, not having anything.
Right.
But for the older guys like me, old school, having something collectible, to put on your shelf to pop it in whenever, is a great way to view it too, and to have.
That's
So
true.
that's the reason why I did that.
And trust me, I'm old school too. I have plenty of DVDs and old, VHS tapes of some
Oh
of the
yeah,
stuff that I grew up on. So, and I still have it all in the
exactly.
studio. So it's great. And that's
Yep.
good that you're doing both, where you're getting that streaming for people that really want to do that, because a lot of my collection too is just streaming now.
Well,
But
exactly. It's easier to do.
especially if you
Um,
move around a lot.
yeah, exactly. But like I said, because people always still ask me that, and I'm just like, you know what? I'd rather have a nice collectible put up on my shelf versus something that's stuck on my computer or phone somewhere.
True. And for people that don't know what you mentioned before with like your website and everything, where WPI, like what does it stand for?
Well, when me and my wife first founded the organization, we were known as Wisconsin Paranormal Investigators, and we did ghost investigations. We did Ohio State Reformatory, hundreds of residents and businesses to try to find that. I actually had a team of 10 up until 2014. But, I shifted. I went a different direction than the rest of the way the other team went. They actually formed their own group as well and moved on, which is great for them. I'm happy they're still doing what they're doing. But my focus totally shifted from investigating ghosts to investigating cryptids. And again, that's how come at the same time I don't want to be known as just a Bigfoot researcher per se,
Right.
but somebody that goes out and if there was a UFO sighting, around here, I'd be the first person over there, or a Mothman sighting, or a Dogman sighting. I mean, just all these different cryptids. I'd be there because my interest is in all of it. You know what I mean? And at the same time, I always say, if my neighbor came over and knocked on my door saying, "Jay, you got to come over, check out what's going on in my living room," and I open the door in the living room, the couch is spinning around and the pictures on the wall are spinning around, I'd be focusing on that as well. So it's not like the ghost has ever died, in my interest. I've just shifted more to more of what's out in the woods right now.
And how did you get started with like researching and investigating and really kind of diving in and doing this documentary? Like, where did like the, because I know some people, what gets them into the paranormal or any kind of, like doing Bigfoot is a
Yeah,
personal experience or, you know, just I guess a deep love ever since I was a kid, doing this,
right,
in love for
right.
history. So, like, where did it all start for you?
Well, again, it started in October 19th, 2013 with the Bigfoot. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because I've always known about Bigfoot. Who hasn't seen Harry and the Hendersons or
Great movie.
any of the other Bigfoot movies out there? You always knew it, but it might as well be a gremlin like, Gizmo or something, or,
Look at you with the movie
just
drops. I like it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's kind of what Bigfoot was to me. I mean, you say Bigfoot to this day, it's the butt end of a joke. You get the eye rolls. It doesn't exist. And I get that. But on October 19th, 2013, there was four of us walking these trails. Maybe we thought we would run into the Beast of Bray Road, which is a whole other beast, you know.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we were out there and I caught one clip. I was using a really old, crappy uh, digital tape camcorder with night vision, and so the mic on there couldn't really pick it up. But I was able to manage to pick up one. But just being out there, I can still hear this thing that did not sound normal. It didn't sound right to us. And again, I always say we all weren't Outback Jacks. We're not all animal experts out in there. So it's not like we can say, "Oh wow, that's Bigfoot," and deem it as that. You got to do your investigation, your due diligence, and find the soundboards of all the different indigenous animals, nocturnal, even day, birds, everything, and listen to every single one of their calls. And they have so many different calls per species that we could not find a match for it. And it still sounded hauntingly like a human's voice box. I mean, people say, well, could it have been a human? It was, it's hard to explain. You'd have to listen to the clip. But at that point, when I heard that and we could not confirm what that was, that got me started hiking in the woods. You know, I'm the first person to stay away from poison ivy, don't like ticks, don't like, being out with mosquitoes and you know what I mean?
I
But
gotcha.
yet, yeah, but all that changed. I didn't care at this point. There was like this driving force of trying to find out what the truth was of what we heard. So I started going out there, and I am the type of person that documents everything. I mean, even if nothing's going on, I'm the first person to have photos going on, video. So I, we'd constantly keep going out there. And it wasn't until a couple months later in the snow, again, this is in the documentary, that I came across these overly sized, huge prints during snow. All right. I kept thinking we found them in the middle of nowhere. It was snowing. So I kept thinking, Well, shoot, I mean, how could you hoax this? And if you were going to hoax it, it was snowing, so all that effort in hoaxing this was going to be gone in an hour or two because it was snowing. And then still at the same way the kettle was pitched down with 53 inches in between each, heel to heel, there was no drag mark. It was almost like a perfect imprint, lift up, imprint, lift up, imprint, and it was almost like on a tightrope. And again, at that point, I'm still like, well, this still could be a hoax. So I'm still hunting the truth. I heard the vocals back in October. Now I found some prints near the area where we heard the vocals. So I'm thinking maybe there's still something to it. So I'm going to keep diving into it. So, 5 years later, here I am, but I have like, a 4 terabyte external hard drive just filled with all my data, all my, documentation, all my audio, video, pictures, everything. And at that point, I think it was last year is when I began thinking, I want to go back and start looking at some of this stuff that goes into the abyss of the external hard drive. I'll post it on a website, my website, or I'll post it on Facebook. You'll get your, well, it could be this, could be that. You kind of come to your conclusions within a day or two, it seems like, on social media. Then it's gone. Then it's forgotten about,
Yeah.
and nobody talks about it. So I wanted to go back and re-look at all my documentation just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And as I was doing this, I thought maybe I'll put together a 20-minute video that I could, hand out or whatever of just some different things. Next thing you know, I started getting some ideas of talking to the people that helped me with this. And I also do videography. So, I do weddings and comedy shows and, things like that on the side. So I have all the equipment. Next thing I know, I've got everybody that I went out with on an interview. And I put all this together. So it's not your normal documentary of the floating heads and the storytelling. This is the floating heads in the action as it's happening because what do you know? I was recording it at the time. So, when it comes down to it, you got to make up your own mind. This is something I won't push down anybody's neck because, like you said, if you have never seen it, you're only hearing the stories.
Right.
And I always wanted to come across as that, credible investigator that if something does happen, that you would at least listen to me. And I don't want to say take my word, but really go, wow, wait a minute, Jay found something. This is the guy that is hunting the truth, who's trying to debunk, ghosts, UFOs, lights in the sky, or sounds in the woods. You know what I mean? But, as these things happen, there's not much I can do about it. I can't take it back. It happened. And that's what I did is I put everything together in one nice long story. I mean, usually documentaries are 60 minutes long. There was no way I could tell a 5-year story within 60 minutes. It was just impossible. Even on the cutting room floor, it originally started out being almost 2 hours and 40 minutes, almost like the Avengers Endgame movie. But so I cut it down to 2 hours, but that's the best I could do. But the pre-screening that's been going on right now of a few people that have reviewed it have said that it seemed like it moved along a lot faster than what the hours, would tell you. But, that's in the eye of the beholder, the viewer. But a lot of good content in that.
That's good. Yeah, and one of the things like I have, we always talked about with amongst ourselves, my brother and I, and we said, like, do you get called crazy a lot just for like you spend 5 years hunting for Bigfoot, and majority, I don't know if we did it like a poll, but majority of people say like how come we never found anything like substantial? Everybody always makes a reference. Well, we see bears, and we see all these other animals. How come we never see all we normally find is prints? Sometimes you'll hear noises, and then a lot of people now have, shown videos of, rocks being thrown, but we never have really substantial proof. And
Right.
and me and my brother always talk about it too, because we've been doing a lot of weekday weirds because it seems like Bigfoot is in the news lately.
Mm-hmm.
And, like our past weekday weird was on just an article that we read on the rankings of Bigfoot, where to, spot Bigfoot. And one of the states was Pennsylvania, right next door to us,
Yes.
and
Oh, yeah.
there's been credible videos, that where we've looked at ourselves and we saw like there was a video in Russia of like a Yeti running across the road, and that
Hmm.
was very compelling. And there's been tons of things like that that really, I start to wonder like, what is this? Is it something that we just really haven't found? I don't know. And also like doing research and understanding like the way the world is, and everybody talks about how much there's cameras everywhere now, but I don't think people understand how vast the woods are.
Right.
And like
100%, 100% right
yeah,
there.
like me, like I'll be honest, I'm on the fence. As much as I want to believe, and I think that it's a possibility that Bigfoot's out there, I'm really on the fence about it. Because even in our own home state, we had the Pine Barrens, and I've been down to the Pine Barrens plenty of times, and it's huge. Like there's so much woods and wilderness that you can get lost for days. And I know most people live in towns, cities, things like that, so they really don't understand. And we go up to my buddy's cabin in upstate New York every now and then, and just up there too, it's just dense wilderness. So I
Right.
understand that, like, yes, if there is a fringe society of maybe Bigfoot or whatever it may be, some people believe it's aliens, or whatever it may be, that it is possible. But like in your experience, like you're hunting this, or doing the research yourself, and for 5 years, like do you get called crazy? Like people say like you're wasting your time and your effort and your money, and to come up with what, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, pretty much all the time. Like I said, even till this, even with a documentary coming out, somebody that doesn't know me hears that, I hike, I look for Bigfoot. It's the eye roll. They might not say it to my face, but believe me, when they're leaving, they're probably thinking this guy's a loon, which is okay because it comes down to exactly what you said. It's if you're not going to discover for yourself, how can you take, the Russian Yeti, running across the road, or any of these videos that are online, if they're credible or not, and
Right.
you don't know. And as long as society's telling you that there's no such thing as Bigfoot, then you might as well just stay on the fence of where you're at because it's safe there, right? You could say, there's a possibility, but I'm not going to say I believe, because then you would be labeled as one of the crazies out there that do that. People have always said, how come, you're not finding the bones and just hair or prints, and it's not even just that, but all the different things that go on that could be associated with Bigfoot. I always ask people, have you ever gone out in the woods and found panther bones, or bear bones, or what I mean? Most predators are, kind of like the elephants. They know when they're going to die. They, go to certain places. They could die. The woods would take over that body, from all the scavengers of the woods and the growth of the way nature roams out there. You'll never find it. And I believe this is the same thing with, with a Bigfoot. I can't say what it is. People say interdimensional, flesh and blood, missing link. I mean, the list goes on and on, and I don't have the answers for that. And I can't go on the record of saying what it could be. You
Right.
could have many different theories of it. All I know is it's not just the prints that I found, or the rocks that were thrown at me, or the vocals I've heard. I've seen it a couple different times out there. And of course, you're not rolling with the camera. So this is just my testimony of seeing something just straight out bizarre and odd. When you're out in the woods, especially in the winter, out in the kettle, if the snow's on the ground and there's just a little bit of light in the sky, not even a full moon, you can see like an animal out there. You need no lights at all. So when you find a stakeout, that's what I like to do. And another reason why my documentary is called Finding Jay, people are trying to figure that out of, well, what does that mean? Is he being narcissistic? Who's this Jay guy? They found him. Whoopee doo. No, this is more of a Bigfoot perspective, because when I get out there, I'm not roaming around hunting like I'm hunting pheasants,
Yeah.
roaming around and trying to get something up. I get to a place and I sit and I wait. Think of it as fishing in a boat with a bobber, with a worm on it. You're just out there
That's
and
patience.
just exactly. And I always believe that because I never use bright lights, and there's a reason for it because people are always saying, well, why don't you use flashlights when you go out there? I always tell people when you're out on a trail, and let's say we're in the dark, and you see two flashlights coming at you from down the path, they're pretty far out, but they're coming your direction. What's your first instinct when you see those two flashlights? You know, um, mine would be to, well, I don't know what it is. Let's go the other direction, or man, let's hide. And why? Because you don't know the intentions behind those flashlights. You don't know who they are. So when I go out there, I don't go out with any lights because I don't want to come across that way to, if there's something out there that I don't want to scare away. It would be more, I would want them to approach me. So when I get to my area, when I get out there, I stop. That's what I do. So finding Jay's more of a Bigfoot perspective of saying, hey, who's this guy out here? Let's get up to him. And you just kind of sit and wait.
No, I give you a lot of credit for this, and as much as I may not be willing to do that, I mean, I'm glad there is people out there like searching for the truth, and making it a point. We just got a comment, Andy Williams, on our YouTube channel, just saying like, yeah, I'm saying I'm on the fence, and he made a good point. Like, I guess just saying I'm on the fence because there is moments where I'm totally like 100% like, yes, it's out there. And then there's sometimes when I guess you find like other, when we talked about like finding Bigfoot or some things, it's just
Right.
like, I'm always like, God damn, like, it, I don't know. It's tough for me. And like you said it yourself too, you have to get out there and you have to experience it for yourself. And maybe that's really what I have to do one day and just
Well,
really,
yeah, exactly. And it's like, let's say the ghost investigations, and this is the part that always bothered me, even when I was doing it. You'd get a call, a place or business, let's say you go out there, you set up all your equipment, you're at this location for 6 to 8 hours, let's say, and then you go through all of your audio, all your video, and you hear things, and you might deem it saying that could be paranormal, ghost like. Same time, you really, really don't know yet. That investigator will not revisit that same place on a daily or weekly basis, and that's really where you're going to get your data. Where I research or hike in the woods, I have 4 different areas that I'm out there weekly. I mean, besides, holidays or my wife's birthday or, deer season where I don't want to get shot, I'm out there. You know what I mean? And I don't care if it's hot and humid and mosquito-y or, 12 below zero. I'm out there. And I feel like I have to be out there to be able to make sure or to use this data to be able to determine seasons and, and other interesting things like that. So, uh, but it's me going out there, and that's always been the X factor. I don't have a solid hiking partner per se. I've got hordes of them, and they're always like in a rotation because safety first. You never want to hike alone just for safety for any reason. To be able to get out there. So it's so while I'm out there, and I'm going to say, let's say every 10 trips out there, maybe one of those and one of those times something may come up which is still inconclusive. So you just have to be tenacious about it. And I think once I found the prints, heard the calls, had rocks thrown at me. I've fallen down this rabbit hole that's I'm more like a moth to a flame right now, to where I have that drive to get out there. It's not so much, all right, this is a good week to go out. Let's go check it out because my interest peaked up again. It's always there. It's just embedded in me.
Yeah, and you make a great point too. It's like when you do investigations, you have to really go out there and do the grunt work, not just spend like a couple hours and like that's like some of your shows where they're like, you know what, you have some activity here. This is what you could do. All right, it's haunted. Good luck.
Right.
And some of these shows where yeah, they like again, picking on Finding Bigfoot, but going out there and spending, I don't know how long they actually film in one location, but the same thing, like, oh, we spent the night here, we heard some strange noises, Bigfoot's out there, or Bigfoot's not out there in these, in this
And
section.
then they move on.
Yeah, and then they move
Exactly.
on. And I mean, I guess
Right.
that's good, with what you're doing. You're spending, and it's all in Wisconsin, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people say, don't I go to Washington or Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, which I am going to Pennsylvania at the end of the month. But at the same time, this is all about, um, people say, well, is this your hobby? Well, I guess having this burning desire to find the truth a hobby, I guess it would be a hobby, and I just live and breathe it. And it's being out there and discovering it for yourself. In fact, my wife will even, I don't want to say roll her eyes because she supports what I do, but I don't think she really believes. She thinks it's possible, maybe in the Pacific Northwest, in the mountains in Washington and, those areas out there. But in Wisconsin, there's no way. But then again, you look in the kettle and you were talking about, the Pine Barrens out there right by you,
Yeah.
um, where even in the Kettle Moraine, not as big, but it's 55,000 square acres of just kettles, forests, ponds, lakes, plenty of places uh, to actually support something like this as living, in my opinion. And then again, even when you get outside the woods part of it, you have groves of woods and forest everywhere. You're driving down an interstate, like you were saying, you're going up north in New York,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And you have that long stretch of road, you're on a highway and everything. Do you ever really just kind of look out way to the right or way to the left, way out there because there's nothing out there, right? Maybe it's all farmland, maybe some of it's woods out there, but who's out there, who's monitoring it? I always think there's so much area that a supposed Bigfoot could move around undetected, you know, and that's how I feel about southeast Wisconsin. It kind of ends here, the Kettle Moraine, but it goes way up north. Then you've got just groves of trees that start hitting the great north of Wisconsin, which is even more dense, which then leads all the way up into Michigan, which is even more dense. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
I hear you.
if anything wanted to move through the state of Wisconsin, they could.
Well, just thinking about like where we live, and we talked about the Pine Barrens, but also like when we travel, we have the Appalachian Trail,
Oh
and
yeah,
you know how far that is.
oh yeah.
And there's plenty of times where I'm in PA. We love going out to Gettysburg, and one of the things is I'm always usually the first thing I'll say is like I'm looking for a bear. Like I want to see a bear.
Mm-hmm.
And getting back to some of the other points, and me and my brother Greg talked about this all the time too. We've been up to Maine ever since we were little, and we've never seen a moose in person. I've seen them on TV. I've heard people saying, they saw something, but I've been going up there since I was a baby, and we've never seen one live in person, but they're all over Maine. Same thing with
Oh
like
yeah.
with bears. Like the only time I've seen a bear in person was when I was mountain biking. And like getting back to the point too where you said like you don't really hike alone. And that's another thing. Like I love going mountain biking. And one of the things is I'm always nervous like I'm going to get attacked by an animal. I'm going to be out there and all of a sudden like I'm going to get jumped from behind. And there's
Oh
nothing
yeah.
I could do cuz I'm alone.
That
So
that's cor- that's correct.
like there
Yeah.
there is things where I believe like in the possibility. And one of my theories, which Greg, poo-poos me, and he says, like I'm crazy. But think about the vast majority of connections with caves. Do you think it's a possibility that Bigfoot could live in a cave somewhere?
Yeah, 100%. That's been one of my working theories, which I'm sure there are thousands of working theories of this, because you know, with all the descriptions of other people having encounters, again, if you want to take a pie graph and let's say there's 90% it was all misidentification or hoaxes, you still have that 10% left of it being real. Even if it was 1% of all these sightings, that's something to consider as legit. And if these are real encounters and people are saying it looked like it had hair, not fur, not like Chewbacca, not like Harry from Harry and the Hendersons, but actual long hair all over its body. Then I'm thinking, how are these things managing to roam around in -12 degrees if they're not really built like a bear? You know what I mean?
Right.
That can have the insulation. So that would always get me to thinking, there is something to the subterranean part of maybe caves. I'm in the Kettle Moraine, and if you looked at the kettle, you would say, "Wow, it's just forest." But the kettle was actually made by, um, you know, the Ice Age. The glaciers actually created the Great Lakes here, left depressions, and some of them are 300 feet deep. So I always say the Kettle Moraine's like inverted mountains. You're there flat, but it goes way down, then back up, down, all over, 55,000 square acres. So then I'm like, well, I really don't know what's underneath, the parts that we're walking. Could there be caverns under there? Could there be caves? I suppose I haven't found them yet, but anywhere else in the mountains or anywhere else worldwide, not just the United States, I'd believe the same thing, that they could just be subterranean, and maybe even living in caves close by.
Well, yeah, it's funny that we mentioned it because there was a couple people that on our YouTube have asked that question and said the same thing. Like some type of tunnel system or some type of just way of getting around other than what we think of just walking through the woods.
Well,
Because
here's another movie reference for you. Red Dawn, the original Red Dawn.
okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, when they would the Wolverines would set up the traps underground, to take out the Russians, or when they're running, they would like pop out of the ground, with like little trap doors that you never even knew were there. And sometimes I think, what if that's all it was? Like you were saying, the connections of caves, of being able to be detected and disappear pretty quick.
of course, you
You'd have to,
you saw it in a
yeah.
lot of different, like I study history, and one of the things you could see in a lot of different wars throughout history, people have used tunnel systems, caves, caverns, and there's not too many people know about it, but there is like that possibility of it. And
Oh,
there's
sure.
people like that I know that go caving all the time, like every weekend. And I'm always telling them, take pictures. If you see anything crazy, let me know,
Yeah.
because I'm really curious. So it is a possibility. And yeah, same thing. Like talking about how like Bigfoot would survive. I don't know. Do you have any like theories? Somebody put it out too. Like if their hair gets matted down, maybe it's some type of insulation. You
you know
know.
but it's always weird because a lot of the reports, and I listen to them, I don't want to say daily, but on a weekly basis I'm listening to all different reports, trying to gather that information, and they're always that you can see the muscle under the hair, not the fur, under
Right.
the hair. So you're thinking that these things are just not well kept, and they're just full of hair. How can even that hair, that you can see the muscles, define the insulation of this being? And that's the hard part, because if it is matted, is it all matted over its whole complete body, or just on the back, or its butt, or its legs? And the parts that's not matted down, how is that protected?
Right.
So again, I really don't have an answer for that, except that, maybe they're out during the cold months hunting, and then retreating back to, where it's going to be warmer. That's the only thing I can really think of
Almo-
for the insulation.
Almost like what a bear does. Like fattens up and then like hides. And
Yeah.
hibernates. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's the thing too. Like when people talk about Bigfoot, there's people throw things out there, but like how, that's like my one of my questions, and Greg had that question too. Is how does it really survive? Like what does it eat? Where does it go? And like is there a den? Are they living in some type of protection? Because a lot of things too. I don't know if you come across this in your research and being out in the woods, but I've seen a lot of videos where they say they saw this like structure almost built with trees and sticks, almost
Yeah,
like a house, but
yeah,
not a
that's
house.
actually that's actually my documentary as well, because we did come across one.
Okay.
Um, and again, one of the biggest things that people come out and say, well, Boy Scouts built that, or uh, that somebody else out there is just creating something crazy structures or whatnot. Especially with the X's, that's so hard
Yeah.
when you're out in the woods, because when you're out in the woods, nature's going to happen, and all trees are vertical. And I always say if they fall and they fall at a certain angle to another semi-vertical tree, it's going to form an X. However, when you start coming across some of these X patterns that are not the same species of trees, and you can totally tell that they were placed there, now you got to say, did people put them up there versus you know a Bigfoot? Because no one has ever seen. You can go and say you've never seen a Bigfoot throw stones or yell or wood knock or create structures, but the structure that we came across, that actually I was out investigating with Mary Marshall of the Paranormal MD. I always call her, she's my Scully to my Mulder. Um, I mean, she has that open mind, but at the same time, even more scientific than I am on it. But when we came across this, she's thinking it was more of a deer blind, perhaps. But when I was looking at the intricate part of the weaving, it made no human sense that if I was going to create a blind for deer hunting, it certainly would not be this way. And again, you would have to see what I'm talking about to believe that. But
Right.
it's intricate parts of the way different pieces of wood are assembled, and it's something that I wouldn't even do. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm no Outback Jack or survivalist, to go out there. But if I was to do it, I would use the common sense of this is how I would build it for shelter or as a blind.
Right. Yeah, and if not too many people, I'm sure not many people are familiar what a blind is. It's really just like a structure to hide yourself if you're hunting, or some type of
To camouflage
yeah.
yourself, yes. Yep.
Yes, because I'm
Yeah.
sure not too many people understand that some of the terminology and
Right, but
but
even so, then you have to understand the deer's behavior, the
right.
way the structure that we found that Mary thought could be used as a deer blind. I know for a fact if anybody was sitting in this way, I know how deer could be. You're looking at it. If you can kind of see through it and you see a silhouette of anything, these deer are going to be leery. They're going to stay away from it. And especially because we're people, we can't sit still forever. Eventually, we're going to move. You know, Deer have patience. They're going to look, they're going to flag if something's wrong. They're going to pop and run. And the way this thing was built, there's no way that you could put hunters in there, in my opinion,
Yeah.
and to run away. So again, I can't tell you what built it. It's very strange of what built it. When I first got it, I'm like, wow, we found a Bigfoot structure. But you got to kind of ground yourself or have somebody help ground you,
Yeah.
and get to that point. But it's still remains a mystery.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like we always talk about, like the evidence that we find, just like the footprints, the form, like these blinds or whatever they're building for whatever purpose. And then one of the questions we always have too, and Greg had it on his list because he wasn't here today. Thanks, Greg, for this. But yeah,
Hi, Greg.
what's up, Greg? So we always talk about, like, like the good pictures, good video, like with all the equipment and with people like you out there trying to find, evidence of a Bigfoot or whatever it may be. Like there's still all these videos that flood in, and I'm still amazed with how blurry, how grainy, how like bad quality it really is. Like even some,
Yeah.
yeah, even some of on the shows like Finding Bigfoot, it's kind of the same old story. And I think that's where a lot of people too may have their, qualms with saying like, all right, it's not real. Like we're never gonna find evidence. But in my personal opinion, and we talked about this on our Weekday Weird, I really think we're gonna find some hard evidence within the next 5 years. Like really, like we're majority of the people now turn and say like, all right, well, at one time, if it doesn't exist anymore, it did exist.
Well, I always say this with the amount of um, evidence that I believe that I have found would hold up in a court of law. But because it doesn't exist without the body, it will never be, notarized in academia. that it is real. That's my honest opinion. You know, it's one of these things. When you're out there, and I've had a couple, definitely a lot of encounters where you're not ready. You know, if you've ever been deer hunting,
Oh yeah.
okay, you've been sitting and waiting all morning, all afternoon, all the way until it's time to come down. You're waiting, and you as a human, you're going to lower your guard a little bit just a second because nothing's happened forever, right? You're not full of that adrenaline for 9 or 10 hours in a row, just holding your rifle, just ready to shoot. But as soon as you lower your guard or you just relax a little bit, grab something to eat out of your backpack, it happens like that in a snap. Um,
Oh, I get it.
yeah, so that's the thing is, and with that, that's what it's like when you're out in the woods. I'm not rolling. I know a lot of people say, get a GoPro and just strap it to yourself and you're constantly going, but you're always looking in different directions. So even if you're rolling all the time, maybe you're not rolling in the right spot where it's going to happen. And then when you do see it, it's going to be blurry. And the same thing with photos. And here's another one for you. For anybody that says don't try to capture a blurry object, try this experiment. Have your phone ready and go out and where two people are playing ball, like catch, right? And just have them throw it back and forth to each other. You tell me that you can catch, even though you know that ball is going to be thrown, a perfectly clear picture. You can't.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, you might get that image, but guess what? It's going to be blurry. Let's say there's a dog outside or a cat or some sort of animal and you have your phone ready and you want to get up close to it. And let's say all of a sudden you're ready to shoot it, but it's ready to move. And as soon as it moves, yeah, you could tell it was a groundhog or a cat, but it might not be a total clear picture. So that's all I'm saying about the whole everybody has these high powered, phones and everything, and there's no clear pictures of Bigfoot. How many people are actually going out there? And how many people are actually going out there having an encounter all the time as if it was a friendly squirrel? That's going to be around you. This thing's elusive. It hides well. It knows. We go out there as humans. We just want to move and keep hiking. I believe these things have the patience of a 300-year-old oak tree that will just stand there forever and ever until you leave and you never ever see it. So, that's where I get the whole video and photos, and that's where it doesn't really matter. Even if you took the clearest picture in the world, it's going to be deemed as a hoax. And if you take a blurry one, you're going to get people say, well, there you go. Another picture of a Bigfoot with a crappy phone.
Trust me, I
It's
do
the
the
way,
same thing. And
yeah,
I mean, just
yeah,
doing this show, we get feedback that's negative a lot of times. Like,
of
you
course.
guys suck. Like you don't know what you're talking about. Do a little bit more research.
Yeah,
Things like that. And it doesn't matter how much research I put into this. And there's always going to be tidbits that I miss, or tidbits that I never even heard about. And
you can't. And you know what? Bottom line, you can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all of the people all the time. I'm putting a documentary out there, and people can pick it up. They can either rave about it or just like anything else out there, say it's pure crap. And the thing is, that's what it is. I'm not out to please everybody. If anybody watches this documentary just with an open mind, just saying, look at the facts. This is what was caught. You come up with your own decision on it. I'm not going to shove it down your throat of what I think it is.
yeah,
And that's bottom line of where doing a self documentary and having total creative control over it, just like your YouTube channel, that you're able to say whatever you want. This is, you know, this is reality right here. You know,
no, I agree. And I think that's the way things should go. And people should watch more, YouTube channels that they deem credible and that they know they're going to put out, real information, not such watered down, edited versions, where we're just watching on TV. And I don't know, I've always had more questions and more. it racks my brain because even after this conversation, I'm just gonna sit back and be like, well, why didn't I ask this? Well, how can I learn more about this particular thing about Bigfoot, and just try to understand it a little bit more, even if it is just fascinating stories. And like you said, you're putting this DVD out and this film out, and yeah, there's gonna be some people that hate it, but the people that really believe in it or want to believe, and they're going to look at it and say like, oh, maybe I could take away something, whether it's from the
Correct.
conversation or the film itself. And how can I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll get out there one day and really like say, you know what, I'm just going to go out for a weekend camp out and just see if I've experienced anything weird, in certain
That
hot
that's
spots.
Well, that's all you can do. The reason a lot of people say, "Why do you go at night?" Well, the reason why you want to go at night as well is you want to weed out more of the human contamination that'll give you a false positive of being out there. And even when you do, I say, "Well, we're out here, so can somebody else." So, but you're weeding out the hikers, the bikers, the camping,
Yeah.
anything that would make you do that. But at the same time, you just got to have the patience for it too. And I believe once people do that, it's very possible that they could have their very own experience, but they might not know what it is. And again, that's why I'm putting out this film is to educate from my perspective, not to be able to tell you that's what it is, and I'm going to shove it down your neck. That's what I think it is. It's, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we've experienced. This is not just me. This is 20 different people.
Yeah.
And, you tell me when you come down to it, you make up your own damn mind. And that's what it is. For me, it's never been about to try to be the first one to prove Bigfoot's real and to get that clear picture and that clear vocalization or even an up close personal. Right now, honestly, it is more personal for me to go out there and actually make contact. That sounds crazy because who would do that with a grizzly bear? I don't think this thing is Harry and the Hendersons, but at the same time, I developed up a rapport over the past 5 years, either with a Bigfoot or a lot of raccoons. I don't know, but I have developed up a rapport with being in these same areas on a constant basis. So will that one day happen? That I'd love to happen, which is actual make contact. That would, I mean, it'd be awesome. Not one person in the world would believe me, but that that's where it becomes more personal for me.
I get it. You spend as much time as you did, doing this, and you want that, and even if it's just validation for yourself. I mean, that's kind of at the end of the day what I'm really just looking for. I'm just looking to expand my knowledge and talk to many people that I can that have the same interest in me, even if I am on the other side of the fence, so to
Yeah.
say, as some of these people, that we talk to on our show. And one of the things I had a question for, which I forgot to ask, is just this area in Wisconsin, like how, because I don't know, and I'm sure many people listening don't know, but how dense and like how far back, like miles, and really is this place that you're in?
Yeah. So just to explain the kettle moraine, because anybody can Google it. It's over. You got to think of how dense 55,000 square acres is. That stretches up from southeast Wisconsin to middle, uh, over 100 miles. Okay, and it is so dense that you gotta understand that where I research is a pin drop. Okay, and a lot of people are like, well, do you get off trail? Do you trudge through? You're going all commando style, getting out in the woods. And you know what? I stick on the paths, and there's a reason for it. The paths are somewhere where humans go and other things don't. So I feel the best interest of something approaching me or finding me is going to be on a trail. There's definitely, I do get off um, into the, off path quite a bit. But even so, that's more for stakeout reasons or for where I want to research to say, could there be a cave there? what's there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So just to give you an idea of all that I just said is just a pin drop. I could easily get lost totally right there and not find my way out for a while. You know what I mean? That's why I always make sure I bring my compass. The phone that I have with me, I always carry three of those battery juice packs to keep my phone charged, for a couple days. I bring anything that I think would be survival in a backpack, even on just an evening hike, because you never know.
That's
But
good.
yeah, but it is dense, and the further north you go, the more dense it gets. But yeah, from where I'm at right now, if I was out there, you are in the middle of nowhere. And believe me, at night, it lets you know that you are kind of a guest in the kettle moraine.
What other type of animals like are out there that you know of or you personally seen and things like that? Do you come across that in your travels?
Well, we have now. The DNR will state that there are no cougars or bear down here, but there have been bears sighted coming down because right where we're at, we're almost on the Illinois border, Wisconsin-Illinois border, and there have been bear sightings in northern Illinois, which they're coming down from. But yes, actually, me and Linda Godfrey and Sanjay Singhal a couple of years ago during the winter months came across some cougar prints.
Wow.
So they're down there now. The DNR will state no, they're not down here, but I think it was just what was it, a year ago they started catching them on trail cam, like near Milwaukee, Racine area. That there are cougars out there. So
That would freak me out
go.
if I was going mountain biking and I knew that. I'd be like, all right, I'm not going there anymore.
Yeah, well, in this case, that's how come I always say you hike with one or more people, mean one extra person. So you always want to be two or three strong because, if you do have predators out there like that, you are uh, not unlikely to get attacked, by a predator like that, knowing that it would be a hard kill versus the plentiful rabbits, raccoons, or whatever else are around, and there's, grown men out there, it's going to be like, maybe we just keep our distance. If you were out there by yourself, that's a different story. That's another reason why I don't hike alone. But yeah, you never know what you're going to come across. I mean, we've been, when was it last year? A whole convoy of coyote. I mean, you're talking about kind of hair raising. After they get the kill and the yipping and everything, went on for like a couple minutes. You could just hear them all run by us. I mean, in the dark, you could just hear them coming. Where about they're at. I couldn't tell you exactly the distance, but I felt like they were right on us. I mean, I was ready to, you know, pull out the machete and get my bear spray ready and
Yeah, I
hope
hope
for the
you
best.
hope you have some type of gun or something, or you're not the slowest runner in the group when you're out there.
Well, I don't want to say I'm the slowest, but I'll also say I do not pack. I do not bring a firearm. And there is a reason for that. It's kind of a double-edged sword. You think you're going to take it out there and use it on any type of predator. That would be the smart move, right? Because that's what you're thinking. If a bad person or, a predator comes up, you're gonna want to protect yourself with a firearm. However, if you're an advocate of believing that Bigfoot does exist, I also believe that they sense that. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm always like, dogs can sense if you're afraid. Can Bigfoot sense if you're packing that you're a little too confident walking in the woods, knowing that you have a firearm that maybe you'll never be approached. And my whole end game, is to have an approach. Having that contact,
Yeah.
and so and I haven't done it in 5 years, and I don't want to start just for that reason. But at the same time, the double-edged sword, you want to have something to protect yourself with, whether it's, your hunting knives or machete, which I would tell the local forest rangers out there, it's just an edge tool. It's not used for protection, but it is there for that. And I do have a bear spray mounted on my hip, so at a moment's notice, 35 blasts, that stuff burns. At least I can have, elude them, get away from whatever bad situation I was in. But again, that's just the way I approach it.
I gotcha. Yeah, we've talked about this years ago, where we said like, all right, if we saw a Bigfoot, would we shoot it just to prove to everybody that it's real? But at the same time, I don't think I would. It's
And it's funny you say that because when I go out there and I'm speaking to the darkness of the woods and all the possum and raccoons are gathering up a seat, eating popcorn, listening to me talk to them, I'm actually speaking for anything out there. If if there is a Bigfoot out there, knowing that I'm an advocate for it. I don't want to blow your cover of where you're at. I don't want to take you in. You know, I'm just here as an observer and to learn the truth. And that's how it would be. Somebody did ask me if I did have that choice with a good shot to take one down. I mean, you got to think about that. What does that do for you know your integrity, who you are? And I'm not the type of person that wants uh, to get that fame. You know what I mean?
right.
Of being able to say this is what I got, guys. Look at me. And instead, it's more like it's a shrinking world for them. Why not let them just exist there? They're not. We're coexisting. You live in the concrete jungle. You're going to work. You're driving. You're doing your thing every day. You're not out in the woods bothering them. They're not coming up bothering you. So why do that? Why go into someone's house and take them out and bring them out for the world to see? Again, even if you had a body and the best photograph of a dead body, you're going to get the naysayers saying it's not real. Kind of like that. What's that Peter guy's name? The dog trainer who has the frozen Bigfoot body parts. That crazy guy on
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah, yeah.
You know, um, you look at it and he's showing things up close, and you're like, wow, it's huge, it's big, it's all mangly and frozen, and but we're not there. We don't know.
Well, yeah,
So
it comes back to seeing is believing again, and being
seeing,
there
see,
and really
yeah,
experience. But how do we
we're
know?
there.
How do we
How
know
do you
we're
know?
not living in the matrix and something else is really going on? Or
Now you're talking my language.
yeah, that I mean, trust me, I'm into this. I'm into this stuff deep.
Yeah,
I go all into different rabbit holes every time click on my YouTube channel, and I'm looking at videos, and then I see this video, and that's the thing. I still always have more questions because the same thing. Like I could always come back and say like with our ecosystem and just with the amount of food and to survive and to really make a grasp and to make like a living and to understand like how do some of these animals survive. And I know because like I said, I'm always trying to defend this and being skeptical at the same time, which I know this is probably horseshit to some people and just the way it is. But like we're finding new species in the ocean all the time. But do we find a lot of them on land?
there's been some that's coming out there. I mean, you got to look at even just the state of Washington. There's just no way a human could just track every bit of that. I mean,
True.
you would have to, you know what I mean? You'd have to take everybody, in the United States and do, the hand versus hand and create a big circle around the whole state of Washington, and then all just keep coming together, coming together. Then when you all get together in the middle, you're like, well, there was no Bigfoot here. Well,
That
who's to say that they're now not underground?
that's
Who's to
true.
say that they're
Living in
not in
caves.
trees?
That's my thing. Well, yeah, that's the
Exactly.
thing. Like maybe the government should fund, hunting for Bigfoot rather than aliens. You
I
know,
think they have personally.
you think so?
Yeah, I mean, again, just my theory. Call me a conspiracy nut or whatever, but there's just, there's a lot of things that we are not meant to see or to learn about our past. And I think it's covered up. And I think and I don't know what that actual end game itself is. Total control. Who knows? I mean, I could talk to you for hours about that whole subject, but at the same time, is it possible that I feel that they would know, and I mean the government that can utilize everything to be able to go do this with their Navy SEALs to their high thermals to their satellite. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, they have stuff that I wish I dreamed that I would have to go out in the woods with, but so again, it's just not accepted in the academia world, and maybe it's because of like the missing 411, David Pilates, of all the missing people that are would miss in state forests, and are not really recorded because they're just vanishing without a trace.
Yeah,
Again,
I have my
what's up
questions.
with that?
I have my
Yeah,
questions for that, and I also have my questions for him too. And I've reached out to see if would come on the show, but he hasn't reached back to me. And
yeah,
I feel, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about that too. And it's one of those things where I feel, which maybe me and my brother can do like a weekday weird on it, and try to find more information. And I read the books, seen some of the documentary, like the documentary that came out. I think it was just one, but then seen a bunch of his shows on there. And he's written a book about Bigfoot, but he doesn't come to. I understand not coming to a conclusion,
right,
and really saying like this is it, but at the same time you have to give some thoughts. Like, you spend 5 years doing this and research, and I'm sure
right.
you have your own opinions, and your biases, and then also your things that you don't believe in. But at the same time, like, he doesn't do that. And I understand there's a lot of stuff with Freedom of Information Act you can get, and I don't know. I like, again, I have more questions, and I think he's only putting out tidbits of information. Yes, there
Well,
is there is a lot of stuff that's weird about that. And I
yeah,
wonder if it's like some type of animal. Is it some type of Bigfoot? Is it some type of aliens? Is it some type of just like tribe of humans that is just
right,
keeps to themselves in some of these
correct.
places? But that's the thing. Like, I wish people would be more transparent in what they, like, believe. And I change my mind a lot. And I'm sure, as many shows as we've done so far, where
Hmm.
I'm on the fence. Yes, I'm on the fence. And sometimes, some of these stories really are compelling to me, and I really believe. And then I say, you know what, I'm changing my mind. But then sometimes, you find out more information, and then it's just at that, I'm almost at like that starting point again. And
Well,
it's
you
like,
know what? That will also help it. That also happens when you're out investigating or researching. You have all this stuff happening, then it doesn't happen for 3 months when you're out there, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, what if this is just all in my head? And you go back to the other side of the fence of maybe not saying not as you don't believe, but you got
right,
the hard skeptics. But you know what? I've been sitting on the fence so long my ass hurts. So you know
right.
what? You gotta take a stand sometime of saying what you believe, and it's okay to believe in something because it's yours to believe in, not anybody else's. Somebody can believe in God and somebody else will not. Somebody will believe in, what I mean, aliens visiting their house, other people, you know what I mean?
Oh, I
And
get it.
that's
I mean,
that's what it comes to, and especially with the Bigfoot. You could say I believe in Bigfoot. I could say that I'm a knower rather than just a believer of the sightings that I've seen that I can't explain, the all the different things that have happened to me. I can easily say that, but then you're put down for believing in it if you don't have the proof. Well, guess what? It's my belief. I get to hold on to that. Me and me alone. Nobody can take that away from me. So that's currently where I'm at right now.
nah, it's good. Do you see yourself doing other cryptids, or I know you talked about like Dogman and aliens, and like the Bray Road monster, things
Yeah.
like that. Do you see yourself still doing what you're doing, spending your time going out and doing research on Bigfoot, or do you see, like you said, you're into all this stuff just like me?
Hmm.
And do you see yourself doing maybe another movie, or really diving into another subject?
You know, eh, I've always thought about that, to where, like if you ever get a tattoo and somebody says, why would you get a tattoo of that? You might not feel that way in 15 years.
Yeah.
Well, I actually have a ghost tattoo. Um, but, and I told my wife I was going to get a Bigfoot tattoo, and she's like, but what if you're not there? So it's exactly what you're saying.
All right. So where
Um,
where is this
I
ghost?
yeah. What's that?
Where is it? Like, where'd you get it? And what type of ghost is it?
Oh, it's actually a ghost coming out of a gravestone that says WPI on it.
All right.
It's on my like left bicep, kind of a kind of a wraparound, that you would see on a bicep, but it's actually part of a ghost.
Very
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's pretty creepy looking,
nice. I
but
like it.
yeah, but but it's just like that in what we do. So honestly, where do I see myself? I'm going to keep going until I find that truth. Or if I don't find that truth, and that's a hard thing. People, for me, it's been 5 years. There's been people dedicated their lives, 25, 30, 50 years of doing this, and they may believe, but they are no closer to the truth than I am. So, you know, that could go on forever for me. But like I said, the next big event that comes up that pulls me that way, sure. I mean, I would do it. I'm not just locked to it. I go up and look for the Beast of Bray Road. Had two sightings up there myself just driving. That'll on the Travel Channel. I'll explain a lot more of that. But it's bizarre, and this is more of a rural farmland area, not dense forest. It's almost what did Linda Godfrey, she said, it's the Skinwalker Ranch part due, because it's just a lot of bizarre things going on over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll always have my focus on Bigfoot, but it will also be the Dogman or the upright walking canine. But there's also been a lot of UFO sightings around this area, just in the Chicagoland area all the way up till Milwaukee, because we're, fairly close to Lake Michigan, and there's been a lot of sightings over Lake Michigan. Um, so that's my interest is always there. So, I mean, who knows what the next one will be? But, when I first started this was never going to be a documentary. This was
Right.
just me researching. I don't, you have people out there putting books out there all the time, and their films and everything, and I'm like, man, I'm just Jay. That's it. That's all I want to be. I don't want to be anything more than what I am. Everyone's like, what are you afraid of success? And it's like, but what success is an illusion. And I do feel successful already. So that's what I mean is it's not so much getting the mainstream, it's doing it for myself and sharing it with like-minded people that, like you said, you might be on the fence with it.
That's some
After
deep stuff right there.
yeah, and after seeing stuff like this, though, I just want to share it, help educate, and maybe give that to the researchers of tomorrow. You know what I mean? Whatever I'm doing today might help tomorrow. Like you said, in the next 5 years, we might have hard evidence, and maybe it will be 5 years or 10 or 15, but maybe with any of my data helping that out, maybe it'll be closer. Who knows?
Well, I think so, and I think like stuff like you and other people that are out there doing this, and I think it's good for people to take away. Don't always take our, what we say. Do your own research.
Exactly.
Go out there
Yes.
and do it for yourself, or look these other books up, other documentaries, anything like that, and then just like draw conclusions in your own mind. That's fine, but also go in with an open mind, I always try to say, and then just take away some questions, because I always say, like, I have more questions all the time than I do answers. But, look, watch your, film and say, like, all right, well, he did this. Maybe I would have done it a different way. And maybe I could, like, now teach somebody or go out there and do it myself and say, like, all right, this is what I learned from watching the film. And this is what I learned from other people, and maybe they'll have success, and maybe it'll bring new information to the puzzle of doing this.
Oh yeah. No, 100%. You have to do it yourself because no matter what I show you, whether even if it was the clearest picture of Bigfoot in the whole wide world,
I'll be the first to
you,
say, like, I have
yeah,
questions, Jay.
you have questions. I've seen them ask just like that in Hollywood. That they used in this film or whatever. So you're right. It's not about being the first one to try to prove it because there's a small percentage of people that believe in that topic. What is it, 29%?
Yeah.
Of Americans that believe it. So what about the rest of the 70% that's going to be out there that are just like, man, what are these guys are just wasting time. It's crazy. Oh, hey, wait, Chicago Bears game's on. Let's watch that. Not even pay any attention to what's really going on around them, you know?
Yeah, that's it. It's as long as you feel satisfied and you're happy with the way your life, and you said you feel that way already. And
Yeah,
it's one of those things where that's all that really matters. Like, even, if nobody listened to this show, I'd still be doing it just because I have my own questions and I
right.
have my own love for this. And yeah, I'm excited to see the film. I was kind of upset. Me and my brother were upset a little bit that we didn't get to see it yet, but we'll have to wait for June 1st. It's coming up pretty fast. And
Well, sorry about that.
no, it's fine. And I'm excited because then it's on Amazon too, so I'm looking forward, to checking it out, and maybe I'll have more questions,
Oh,
and then we'll have
you
to have you
should
back on, and then seeing where
definitely.
some of your research and your endeavors take you, and then hey, I'm hoping that, like I said, in the next 5 years, we do have hard evidence, and maybe you're the one that brings it to us. And maybe we
Yeah,
have a whole new understanding of what's out there. Because
and you know what? Yeah,
I do believe that there's so much out there that we don't understand. And, it always hurts my brain to think about, like, all right, well, what's in outer space? And then what's past outer space? And then, like, who made that? And even if it's God, like, who made God? And then, like, just
exactly.
keep getting down these rabbit holes, like I say I do all the time, but trying to understand it and piecing it together. Because I had a conversation, before the show, one of my good buddies, and always trying to say, like, well, why do you believe in this? And then, like, trying to explain, and like saying, and he's always coming back, playing the other side and saying, well, like, we still haven't found anything and there's no hard proof. But then, like, what is hard proof? Like, just seeing it on TV,
Yeah,
seeing it,
exactly.
like, I know from reading history a lot what went on before I was born. How do I know that really happened? The way it
Exactly.
was written, we don't know. So, I mean, I guess
No,
we can do this for hours, just going around in circles and trying to figure
yeah.
it out ourselves. But I guess, like, what you do, you have to get out there and do it.
Well, you have to, and just remember the best advice that I could give everybody is it's okay to believe.
I
And
agree.
it's okay not to. It's it's personal and it's yours and you can hold and form, whatever that belief is, no matter what anybody says around you, because we're not all connected that way. We're all individuals, and it's okay to believe.
It's true. And the only thing I would add too is it's okay to tell your story, even if, like, there's tons of people that, mock you and say, like, you just BS, because there is people like us that are out there that are willing to listen. And I think there's a lot of people, even, my brother is this skeptical sidekick, as we call him. He's still open-minded and he believes in a lot of this stuff. So it's one of those things where I think we have to just keep an open mind, and really just, the more stories that come out, I mean, the more evidence we're going to eventually find, no matter what topic it is. So I don't know.
Definitely.
That's just my 2 cents on it.
It's great 2 cents. It's a good two
Yeah.
cents to have.
Well, I'm excited to check out this film, and I don't know if you have any final thoughts before we let you go, but
Yeah, I think I pretty much spoke the mind on it. Is that, you know what, to everybody out there that is tuning in, that know me, that have supported me, through the documentary making, to be able to put this out, that support me, just a big thank you for that, and a special thank yous out there for like Linda Godfrey and Mary Marshall and Mitch Townsend out in Washington. Um, all these people played a very integral part, and Sanjay, I didn't forget about you, Sanjay, an integral part of my journey that have helped me get to where I am at right now. So, with that said, if you want to check out the Blu-ray, you can get it on my website at wpihuntstetruth.com. That's the only place you'll be able to find the actual physical Blu-ray copy. Beautiful packaging with an insert, or you can stream it, rent or buy on Amazon Prime Video on July 1st.
yeah, I'll link it in the show notes, your website, where you could actually look at Jay's stuff, and then also buy the movie if you so inclined to do that. So I'm gonna link it up in the show notes for everybody to see that, and I'll also put it on our website as well. I'll put a link to it so you can go
Great.
visit it there. But
Thanks.
yeah, thanks for your time, Jay. I really appreciate it, and sorry Greg didn't come out, but next time we talk to you, we'll get him in studio and make sure he's here.
Well, definitely, and I appreciate. Thank you guys both for having me on. It's always good to get the voice out there, and anytime, just hit me up. I'll get back on, and we can talk more Matrix things of
Yeah,
how
we'll have to
agents
talk,
go.
maybe some aliens next time.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, there's plenty of stories of that. So definitely, thank you very much.
All right, keep hunting for the truth, Jay. Thanks, man.
All right, thanks. Good night. Bye bye.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning into Case File 51. Can't believe it's been 51 already.
Welcome to Nightmare.
Yeah. But thanks for tuning in. And I guess just my final thoughts. Like, yeah, just keep an open mind and keep that just question everything. But also just tell yourselves and put it out there. Put it out there for people to hear, and because it does open up the doors, whether it's more questions, and then maybe eventually we'll find some, some answers to these questions, whether it's Bigfoot or anything else. Because I don't know, I'm like I said, I'm always on that fence. There's sometimes where I really believe and sometimes I don't. And I don't know, I can't speak for Greg, but I know he's skeptical about a lot of these things because we haven't found hard evidence. But again, we're not somebody like Jay who's out there actually doing it. We're just sitting in a studio just talking about the stories that people like Jay, find or may not find. So thanks for listening to Case File 51, and make sure to keep up with us every Wednesday with our weekday weirds by visiting nightmare365.com, where you can find all the shows that we do podcast. Our next podcast is going to be June 16th. I know it's quite a ways away, so we're going to get back into the swing of things. We have one on the 16th and the 23rd of June, the podcast, so make sure to tune in for that. And then every Wednesday is our weekday weird, and of course, subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, where you can watch all of our podcasts live, and we'll be posting that on our website as well, and all the weekday stories that we have for you. And if you have any stories for us, let us know. You can email us at matt@nightmare365.com. You could also send us a message through the phone, 732-660-8893, and let us know, because we're always searching for the truth. So thank you very much, and until next time,
Stay spooky.